Hi, it's the Herd. One great resolution you can make for the new year, and we all make them, maximize every minute and every dollar for your small business. I know an easy way to do that. Stamps.com. Think about how much time you've wasted in your life going to the post office, driving around, trying to find parking. Is it me or does every post office have no parking? Stamps.com is just the better way to get postage. Use what you already have, your computer and printer, to get official U.S. postage for any letter or any package. Then the mailman picks it up. With Stamps.com, everything you do at the post office, you can do from your desk. Told you you'd like it. And at a fraction of the cost of one of those expensive postage meters. Right now, sign up for Stamps.com. Use my code Colin for this special offer. It's a 4-week trial plus a $110 bonus offer, including postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Ditch the post office. Before you do anything else, click on the mic, top of the homepage, type in Colin. That's Stamps.com, enter Colin. Stamps.com. You'll never have to circle the post office again.
Welcome to the Herd. I'm Jason Whitlock, sitting in for Colin Cowherd. Happy Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday, I think.
Yes. Happy Wednesday. Jason Whitlock sitting in for Colin Cowherd on this Wednesday. Christine Leahy has made it back from Miami.
I flew back just to be with you, Jason.
I really appreciate that. Colin Cowherd taking the day off, recovering from his travels. All right, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor put on a show yesterday, put on a show that we will be talking about all the way up until August 26th and perhaps well past August 26th. What you saw yesterday, the press conference, the first of the press conferences between the 4 press conferences between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, is going to have impact on the entire sports world. It's going to have impact on the entire sports world because these guys are about to make more money for one event than perhaps we've ever seen in the history of entertainment. And that will have impact. The tone that they are setting will have impact. This will not be contained to just boxing and MMA and combat sports. We're in this era where athletes are hyper concerned about their brands and marketing and the individuality. This will impact team sports. So first, let me just give you a taste of Floyd and Conor yesterday so we're all on the same page and you know what I'm talking about.
He's in a tracksuit. He can't even afford a suit anymore. The Roses are 2012 outside. He is How's this suit look? It's a cracker. An August McGregor line. I've got my own line of suits coming out. If you zoom in on the pinstripe, it says you.
I don't give a if it's a ring. I don't give a if it's an octagon. Put me in there and I'm going to kick ass.
Don't be talking You do give a if it's an octagon.
Let me show you what $100 million fighter look like. Still got $100 million and then he never touched it.
That's to the tax man.
You right. I'm the IRS and I'm gonna tax your ass.
I'm not gonna do As far as the fight, he will be unconscious inside 4 rounds. The movement, the power, the ferociousness. He's not experienced this.
Let me tell you what this is. This is a rap battle. Seriously, you remember when rap started, it was about rap battles.
Yes.
And dissing each other and 2 guys on the stage and who could rap better. This is a rap battle. This is hip hop taking over the sports world.
It's like Papa Doc and Eminem,
yes.
right? And 8
yes.
Mile.
Yeah, 8 Mile. And this will have impact on the rest of the sports world. Athletes from the NBA to the NFL to Major League Baseball to whatever, but particularly the NFL and the NBA We'll be watching this. We'll be talking about this. We'll be talking about the amount of money that this fight is going to generate. You have NFL athletes, oh, we can't celebrate. And this is what fans want to see. They're going to use Mayweather McGregor to argue this is what fans want. They want what Dana White called an S show, because that's what this is going to be. Filled with 4-letter cuss words, filled with MFs and any insult you can heap on someone will be heaped, and it's going to lead to a huge payday for both of these guys, for Dana White, for Floyd Mayweather's production company, for Al Heyman, for Showtime. Anybody involved in this is about to have money rained on them, and people will point to the fact that it was this kind of display. Conor McGregor showed up in a suit with pinstripes that said F you. And they didn't say F you, it was spelled out. He wore a pinstripe suit that said F you. This is unprecedented. We have not seen this, even in boxing or MMA. We have not seen this. I don't remember a press conference in boxing, and again, I'm not as versed in UFC press conferences, where there were this many F-bombs and cuss words tossed around. This was a rap show. This was a rap diss show. This is gangster rap moved to the sports lane, moved into boxing. This is unprecedented for boxing. People are already losing their minds, already playing the race card, already upset that Conor McGregor at one point says, dance for me, boy, dance for me. The blogosphere, social media. And I really think the blogosphere and social media, for the most part, championed Conor McGregor's over-the-top insults. They kind of champion this whole circus atmosphere. But there are some who are going to argue, and I've seen it already from the Sean King guy in the New York Daily News, that, oh, what an incredible bigot Conor McGregor is. I believe I've seen it in the blogosphere. Oh, Conor McGregor went too far. I'm in no way trying to defend or cape up for Conor McGregor, because again, I'm on record. I think he's going to get smoked by Floyd. I think he's going to get knocked out in 5 rounds. But I just want to put it in context a little bit about what we have tolerated from boxing for generations. Before, again, what Conor McGregor's doing, what Floyd Mayweather's doing, not some of it, it's going farther. But this is the path boxing and combat sports have been on since its inception. It may have hit rock bottom with this display and what we're going to see for the next 3 days from these guys. But it's been on this path ever since we celebrated and tolerated Muhammad Ali calling Joe Frazier a gorilla. This is par for the course in boxing. Over the top insults, over the top denigration of your competitor. It's a fight. And in a fight, all rules are off, all bets are off. They've just taken it to a much farther extreme level. We have emptied out the trailer park and the hood and put them in a ring together. And we're about to witness a culture clash and a culmination of a path we've been on for years. And I don't want anybody now catching religion and, oh my God, oh, this is too much. We have to stop this. Conor McGregor's gone too far. Floyd has gone too far. Look, we were in the meeting this morning, and one of our producers reminded me of an event that went on with Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner. Chuck Wepner was a great white hope in the 1970s who took on Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali, I think it's in a 30 for 30, or it's in some documentary, Chuck Wepner talked about that before they went out for the press conference, Muhammad Ali, in order to hype the fight, asked Chuck Wepner, hey man, call me the N-word when we get out there. Call me the N-word. Let's take this thing over the top. And Chuck Wepner was like, nah, man, I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it. So when they got out to the press conference, Muhammad Ali said, man, you know what this dude called me backstage. He won't say it now, but he called me the N-word. That's boxing. Boxing is there are no rules to the promotion of boxing. This is a desperation sport, participated by the people that come from desperate situations. Conor McGregor was on welfare a few years ago. Floyd Mayweather, raised by Floyd Sr., I don't think he was poor, but he definitely comes from the boxing tradition because of his father. There are no rules to the promotion of this fight. And so I'm warning people and telling people, those of you that want to catch religion and, this is too much, this is too far. Make sure you understand the history of combat sports, the history of the boxers we have celebrated, the things that have gone on in boxing and the promotion of boxing for generations. There are no rules to this. So let's not all get offended because Floyd and Conor aren't going to play by any rules. They are going to do, if they had to get naked on stage and call each other names for the next 24 hours in order to make an additional $50 million, these guys would do it. And we would have no right to complain. This is the atmosphere and the environment we set up. This fight is perfect for this era and this generation. And that's not me. This is porn is what it is. And it's pulling the cover off of who we've become and how far we have sunk. And again, it sounds like I'm beating us up. I'm really just holding up a mirror to us. Have you been on social media? Have you been on Twitter? Have you looked at the names we call each other on a regular basis? And we only get upset when someone gets called a name or someone gets insulted if they fit into our political agenda. If they don't, we could care less what they're called. We could care less how bad they're denigrated. So I love this. I love this spectacle. I'm glad that we're going to be dealing with this spectacle for the entire summer because it's going to reveal the truth about all of us and reveal the hypocrisy of many of the people that do all the PC complaining. It's going to reveal the hypocrisy of a lot of people, and I'm looking forward to it. I feel like I'm perfectly positioned. Let it all hang out. Floyd and Con, go as low as you want to go to get that money. I got no problem with any of it. I've been in fights. There are no rules to fighting. You call each other all kinds of names in a fight. My only concern is what's the rest of the athletic world going to take from this spectacle and how much money is made from this spectacle and whether they're going to try to apply these rules to other sports. Appropriate for combat sports, appropriate for boxers. I've often said, and I'll get into this when we come back, boxers and rappers are the only people that really have freedom of expression in America. All right. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. All right, welcome back to the Herd. I'm Jason Whitlock sitting in for Colin Cowherd on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon, the day after Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor put on a press conference that we hadn't quite seen before, unless you've seen some of the great New York rap battles from the 1980s. I don't think we've seen anything like that. I think there was more cussing involved in that press conference than I've ever, maybe since, maybe Donald Trump has a press conference like that, but I don't even think he cusses. All right, I got my friend Chris Kid Reed, Kid from Kid and Play. Do I know what I'm doing here? Kid from Kid and Play. Welcome to the Herd.
What's up, Whit? What's going on?
Did you watch that? I need an expert opinion on Conor Floyd. I need a rap opinion. I haven't seen anything like that since the rap battles.
You know what? I think there were definitely elements of the rap battle present. I mean, but you know that posturing, that face to face. I do agree. It got raunchier than most press conferences I'd ever seen. So it definitely had that flavor. I mean, if you go back to traditional rap battles, even rap battles they have up to today for thousands of dollars, or the way Eminem used to get down in 8 Mile. So it definitely had that flavor. Definitely.
What do you think of my position that rappers and boxers are the only people that have true freedom of expression? You can say anything as a rapper. No one cares. Eminem talks about rape. Dr. Dre talks about killing. You can do anything as a rapper, and everyone just, that's just rap. Boxing, same thing. Mike Tyson, I think, threatened to rape Lennox Lewis at one point. Said he was going to eat his children.
Ate somebody's children, right?
Rappers and boxers, y'all the only people that get to say whatever the hell you want.
Well, you know what? I think it all falls under the umbrella and the tent of in terms of hip hop. We've had this discussion many times over the years. This is art. This isn't, this is sometimes telling stories. This is sometimes stories that have some element of truth in them. And if you're speaking about anguish and what you feel like doing, you're not telling anybody else to do it, and you don't actually do it yourself. To me, that's art. I mean, but in terms of boxing and these types of press conferences, that comes under the heading of entertainment. These guys are obviously trying to set some kind of record in terms of pay-per-view. So they're exploiting every angle. It's the press tour. It's the rap battle feel of the press conference. It's the white and black element that people, I don't know that people are talking about that enough. I mean, I'm not crazy about Conor McGregor hearing him tell Floyd, dance, boy, dance, boy.
Well, let me stop you there.
That's by design.
I agree. Let me stop you there. And again, you're old enough to remember, how did you feel, or how do you feel in retrospect, Muhammad Ali calling Joe Frazier a gorilla?
Well, you know what? Muhammad Ali kind of gets Muhammad Ali gets a pass, man. Muhammad Ali gets a pass.
He gets a pass.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali gets a pass. You ever don't act like there's never been those situations where you feel a certain way the whole time, and then as it applies to this one particular person, it don't apply. Like back in the days, Diddy would have all these great parties, and he would tell you, look, dress sharp, suits. I don't care. You got to be dressed to the nines. This is on the flyer. This is on the invite. And at the bottom it would say, except Russell Simmons. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like he can do what he wants to do. So Muhammad Ali is my Russell Simmons. So, but they definitely take it to another level. This is the press conference on steroids, chronic, and Molly and meth.
All right, what do you think of my contention that rap and what we're seeing from Conor and Floyd? It's basically just porn. It is. You call rap art, and a lot of rap is art. But there's a lot that's really popular that's really just porn.
Well, first of all, you and I have been Ali Frazier on these topics for a long time. Okay?
Yeah, I'm Ali. You're Frazier. Go ahead.
You think hip hop causes bunions and gout and lung cancer and everything. You put a lot of things on hip hop's plate. You're right. Look, it's a matter of taste. You know what I mean? And look, being a member of Kid and Play, we would hardly qualify on the hardcore rap tip. We weren't more of a rap battle group. We were more of a dance battle group, that type of thing, that type of competition. So I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how it moves forward. I do agree that in what you were saying, and that it's definitely going to move. It's going to move the parameters of what's acceptable, and I don't think we know exactly where it's going to end. Who knows what's going to happen today? I mean, it could get even worse.
Thank you, Chris.
That's what's up, buddy.
All right, that's Chris Reed. Despite the tension between us, we've been friends for more than 20 years, and we argue a lot about rap music and a lot about popular culture, particularly as it relates to black people. Again, I'm concerned, and we're going to be joined by Floyd Mayweather Sr. here in the next segment. I'm concerned about where this is all going to lead and what impact it's going to have on the rest of the sports world. These guys are about to make a lot of money, more money than we've seen athletes make at one setting, at one time, ever. And I think it's going to send messages and reverberate throughout the entire sports world. And I'm worried about football and basketball players and other athletes trying to apply what these guys are doing to their sport. All right, here's Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Real quick, though, not just the sports world, but anybody really who watches that press conference, it makes me nervous.
It makes you nervous.
It does, because I on one hand appreciate the authenticity that they're just saying whatever they feel, but then I wonder, is that what they feel, or are they just trying to sell the fight? And if that's suddenly appropriate conversation to be having and that's acceptable and considered entertaining, like, where are we all going to go with that?
Again, to me, it's like Kardashians became famous for a sex tape. We've been on this path for a long time. Whatever you do to make money is okay in America. That's the standard we've set.
And you're okay with it?
I'm just going to lay back and enjoy it. I don't know if there's anything I can do to stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's become a bigger thing. Well, Carmelo Anthony is reportedly confident that he will be traded to the Rockets. And yesterday I showed on the show, Nene put up a picture on his Instagram of Carmelo photoshopped into a Rockets jersey and then very quickly took it down. So there was something that he apparently heard that told him that Carmelo coming to Houston is very, very much going to happen, and then took it down probably because he preemptively put it up. It would be a little mini banana boat reunion with him and CP3.
You know what goes through my mind is like Kobe Bryant somewhere has to be like, man, that's the perfect team for me. Everybody loves to hold the ball there and have it in their hands. James Harden, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony, they all play with the ball in their hand. That was Kobe. I'd fit right in there. We can all be selfish ball stoppers.
I was going to say that's actually not the right team for Kobe, because then I don't know how you would have them all on the court at the same time. They'd be fighting each other for the ball. Paul George now is talking about whether or not he would go to the Lakers or even the Clippers. And he said this was to Lee Jenkins of Sports Illustrated. I want to be in a good system, a good team. I want a shot to win. So if we have a killer season in Oklahoma, we make the conference finals or upset the Warriors or do something crazy, I'd be dumb to want to leave that. It's too early for LA. So you can argue that this is either lip service or this is really what he means. I think it's really what he means. If he wants a chance to win and it doesn't work out in Oklahoma City, there are other places that he could go that are closer to winning. The Lakers are just not.
Listen, Paul George has never played with a great player. He played with David West, who is a very good player. He played with Roy Hibbert, who had a brief moment when he was a good player. George Hill was his point guard. He played on good teams. Mm-hmm. He's never played with a great player. I think he's open to seeing how far this thing with he and Russell Westbrook can go. If Westbrook adjusts his play and they do have some success, people are saying Western Conference Finals. I say if they get to the second round and lose a tough series to a very good team, mm-hmm. and he feels like, man, we can add another piece and really win something here, I think he's open to staying, because when you play 82 games a year, losing sucks. And coming to it where you're not in the championship run, that sucks.
And Houston's going to be very good. If Houston didn't make these moves, I would say, yes, they should make it to the Western Conference Finals. But at this point, yeah, maybe second round would be good. And if they are great together, they can bring in a third star. Yeah. So why not keep that going? There's no reason to early bolt, and especially not for the Lakers. Nothing against them. They just aren't anywhere near winning a championship at this point. And finally, when Chris Paul did leave to go to the Rockets, a lot of things started coming about why he might have left. And one of the things people said was that he didn't like the relationship with Austin Rivers and that he was getting favoritism from Doc, and that kind of created some turmoil. So Austin is coming out now, and he said that he actually called Chris Paul to clear the air, and that Chris said, "This is the biggest BS I've ever seen in my life." So now Austin's saying, "I don't care. I've been dealing with this since I was 6. I really don't care." So apparently they cleared the air. From everything that I know, I don't think that Chris was upset about the relationship with Austin Rivers. I think that Doc was very much on Chris's team and wanted to help Chris with whatever he could, to the point where some of the other players on the team were upset with that and were upset with Austin. I don't think that was Chris, but Chris had been asking for a change in the roster, and that just was not happening. And so he said, all right, I've tried everything I can do. I've got to go.
And so you buy Austin Rivers' story here?
I do when it comes to Chris. I think if Austin were to have called some of the other members of the team, he wouldn't have gotten the same answer. I don't think it was Chris that had the problem with Austin. I think it was some of the other guys who had the problem with it. And when you looked at certain trades that could have been made that weren't, but that's what I said to you, like, you can't be the GM, the coach, and the father. That's just too much conflict of interest, because I don't blame Doc for wanting to do what's best for his son because he's his father. But at the same time, if you're hurting your team because you want to keep your son there, it just doesn't work.
That's an interesting segue, because we got Floyd Mayweather Sr. coming on. I'm going to ask him about being the GM, the coach, and the father.
It's different when it's an individual and when it's a roster.
Gotcha. All right, that's Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
All right, this man needs no introduction. He's the father of the undefeated pound-for-pound best fighter in boxing of the last 20 years, maybe the last 50 years. Floyd Mayweather Sr. in the house, the general manager, president, father, coach of Floyd Mayweather Jr. Mr. Mayweather, get comfortable. Glad to have you here in the Herd. Glad to have you on the couch.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I want to start with my concern. I read a quote because I'm saying Floyd's knocking him out in 5, and you and I talked in my dressing room, and you kind of cautioned me a little bit. But I'm a little concerned reading these quotes from Floyd Mayweather Jr. about it's hard to get your body ready when you've been out of boxing. Is that like he's indicating like age is catching up with him? Should those of us that are expecting Floyd to win in a rout, should we be concerned about your son's body, age, and health?
I don't think that nobody should be worried about that right now, because by the time the fight comes, he will be ready. Trust and believe in me.
I asked you, or we talked in our dressing room, I got Floyd knocking him out. I think the totality, he's going to land so many punches on McGregor. McGregor's going to fall inside of 5. I don't think McGregor is prepared for the barrage of punches he's about to endure. Again, this is the most skilled boxer perhaps ever taking on someone who's not a boxer.
He's nothing, really, to tell you the truth. I mean, and my son will show you that.
Your son, that he's nothing? That's really, really strong. Nothing. He's a guy that's about to help y'all make several $100 million.
Yeah, well, he can help us make all that, and then he can go back to his shed.
Why do you say to his shed?
Well, you can go back to his little wooden house. Everybody read up on him.
What did you think of yesterday's press conference and just the tone of it, the amount of cussing, the amount of disrespect between the two guys?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I did quite a bit of that myself yesterday. I didn't mean to, but I'm just saying because I know some kids was in there too. So,
yes.
So, but man, it got so far, man. It just was going off the
off the rails.
Off the rail, just like that.
I think it's going to get worse. I think that I'm going to keep it 100. I think the Irish white dude versus the black dude, I think it's going to get worse.
Well, you know what? It's one thing this guy's talking about. You see him, the thing he's doing over there, whatever that, I don't know what it is. So, I mean, to tell you the truth, man, this guy, he's setting himself up for something.
For an amazing payday. All right, what do you think is going to happen in the fight? We were talking. It sounds like to me, based on the conversation we had backstage, you think this will go the distance and Floyd will win in a unanimous decision?
Well, I told you that, whatever I said back there, whatever I said back there, we're going to leave it there.
Is Floyd capable of knocking out Conor McGregor?
Yeah, he's capable, of course. Of course he's capable.
Does he want to knock out Conor McGregor?
I can't just say that because, we gonna see that in the fight. But we gonna see that in the fight. But overall, that's going to be the winner right there.
How much of the trash talk is showmanship? How much of it is a real animosity that's developing?
Well, first of all, this little hobo, this little bum, whoever he is, doing all this dance, whatever he's doing. I'm just saying that he's the guy going to be. He's the guy gonna be looking like a big fool, believe me. Trust and believe me. He ain't gonna hit nothing. So he gonna be swinging the floor. That's all he's gonna be doing.
Let's see, I agree with that. I don't think Floyd's gonna get touched.
No.
Is this 100% definitely Floyd's last fight?
Who knows, man? Because if they keep putting these money out like this, man, it might keep going.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much money to be made.
Yes, and everybody want it. So, I mean, he's in the game, so why not?
I made the prediction that if Floyd wins in a landslide like I anticipate, I think there's a price, there's an amount of money that could be put up, particularly if everybody makes the money they think that's going to be made, that Floyd would agree for the right price to fight him in an octagon with some MMA rules. Am I crazy for thinking that?
I'm not saying that you are crazy, but I'm saying that ain't going to happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayweather. It was great having you.
All right.
Again, I got Floyd knocking him out in 5 rounds. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. Welcome back to the Herd. I'm Jason Whitlock on this wonderful Wednesday. The day after the All-Star game ended on a 10th inning home run from Robinson Cano. We started today's show talking about Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Their press tour started here in Los Angeles yesterday. Going to take your phone calls at 877-757-4373. 877-757-4373. We've been talking about, was that appropriate and will this be appropriate? What we're going to see leading up to August 26th in this clash. I'm saying it's perfectly appropriate and in context for boxing and for where we're at right now in America in terms of discourse and the level of respect we have for each other. I think it's perfectly appropriate. Mike in Las Vegas, welcome to the Herd.
How you doing? Fan of the show. I just wanted to say, that kind of interview stuff, that went on in the wrestling days 50 years ago. Waldo Von Erich with Ernie Ladd, and they said everything under the sun. And I used to, you'd see it, especially when it was more localized, these, localized wrestling things. But I saw it in Buffalo, and I've watched it for years, but it was the same kind of crazy interviews. And it seems like they started it, and it's just carrying on to every sport now, especially this interview yesterday. I just wanted to bring that up, that it's been going on for a long time in wrestling, and it was as racist and everything in the early years. It's disturbingly racist in the early years. But it went on, and it's been going on since that's in the late 60s and 70s. If you could pull it up on old YouTubes, but I just wanted to bring that across because you've had such an interesting discussion about this, and I appreciate the show.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the phone call. Listen, not only did it go on in the 50s and 60s, but again, boxing has been built on the back of racial animus. That element from the very beginning of boxing, when you understand the history, particularly of the heavyweight division, you can go all the way back. Gentleman Jim Jeffries, Gene Tunney, why am I forgetting? Jack Johnson. You can go all the way back. The racial component, and particularly, again, like Dana White said, the Irish versus the African-American fighter, long history of this, and the disrespect and the personal shots taken, the disrespectful shots taken, a long history of that, and you're not going to get rid of it. And so now everybody, because Conor McGregor's doing it and doing it in a very bold, unashamed fashion, let's don't all catch religion and act like, this is crazy, I can't believe it. Again, we've seen it from boxing and boxers our entire lives. James in Kansas City, welcome to the Herd.
Oh, man, I sure want to thank you for taking my call this morning, Hiplock. I'm telling you, man, I appreciate your topic on this thing, man. But first of all, man, that whole how about dance for me, boy?
Yeah.
I got a phrase for you for that.
Yep.
That's just called the Trump effect. Don't even trip on it, baby. It's just the Trump effect. You understand what I'm saying? Now, you one of them dudes that like to keep it real, and I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I'm going to keep it player to player, pimp to pimp with you.
What?
Ali Frazier. Now, let's just keep it 100. Are you trying to say that Joe Frazier didn't look like a gorilla? Are you saying he didn't look like a gorilla? I mean, wait, didn't nobody argue with him? Even Howard Cosell said.
He did not look like a gorilla.
Even Howard Cosell said, yes, Ali, he does look like a gorilla, I have to admit. And you said if you're thinking Floyd tripping on it. You think Floyd, you just got done interviewing Floyd's daddy. You think Floyd's friends ain't crack jokes about his daddy to Floyd that got him more upset than that?
There may be some truth there. But
I mean, how he gonna go from looking like a cross between Stevie Wonder and Jerry Rice with dreads to Uncle Remus?
You got anything else, James?
I'm just answering your question.
James,
I'm just saying. Let me say this, man. You said have been tripping on this. Let me tell you this. Before this is all over, Conor McGregor gonna make Floyd Mayweather say "Goonie Google."
You're picking Conor McGregor in this fight.
You damn right I'm picking Conor McGregor. And if you ain't picking Conor McGregor, it's a trick to it.
Floyd is going to beat this man's ass and it'll be over in 5. Can't believe you said that, James. Thank you for the phone call. Christine, you look shocked.
Where did that come from?
James in Kansas City.
He really said he was going to keep it player to player with you?
James in Kansas City is a legendary phone caller to my old radio show
this person.
in Kansas City.
Okay,
yes.
that makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Well, he was entertaining.
He's very entertaining. Joel in Delaware, welcome to the Herd.
Hello. What's going on?
What's up, Joel? You're on the radio. Go.
Yeah, I don't think Mayweather's going to lose that fight. He's got too much to offer. He has all the skills, all the talents that he needs to be successful.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you. Falah in Cleveland. Welcome to the Herd.
Hey, how's it going? I'm curious. I'm wondering why is Conor taking financial shots at Floyd? Floyd is worth so much. How are you going to even?
Floyd ain't paid his taxes.
And by the way, when he was holding up that check that said this is a $100 million check that I haven't even cashed yet, checks expire, right? You have to get it reissued. So that's just not smart.
Yeah, that is true. That wasn't smart. But still, how are you going to do that?
How are you going
trying to get to his head?
He needs to pay his taxes. Look, Floyd's going to smoke him, but the trash talk from Conor was actually pretty good.
Hey, but quick question. You guys spelled my name wrong.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. We'll get that straight. Anthony in Indiana, welcome to the Herd.
Hey man, outside of these couple guys and the Pacquiao fight, I feel like there's not a ton of attention paid to the sport, and I feel like it's kind of unfair. So I feel like that this fight can really hype it up. You know what I mean? I think it's a good.
So you think this is good, that they're sinking to the level? Basically, this is porn, is what they're doing with all.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just it's an attention thing. I think a lot of people, it's going to draw a lot of attention, a lot of eyes, and I think that's really what they're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Anthony. Clearly, they're drawing a lot of hype, and our phone lines they're no longer blinking for me anymore. I don't know if it's still working. Greg in California. I don't think it's working. All right, listen, I think this will work for this particular fight. I'm concerned, and I will get into this deeper into the show. I'm concerned about the message it's going to send to the rest of the sports world and what athletes like Odell Beckham Jr., Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, what are they going to take from this spectacle? Will they believe we need more of this type of spectacle in our sport to max out and to make our sport more popular and to build our individual brands? Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, the impact of this fight and the amount of money they're going to make and the hype they're going to use to make that money is going to impact the entire sports world, and it's certainly going to impact the media world. All right, I'm Jason Whitlock. When we come back, I know we have some guests lined up. I know Greg Jennings. I'm not sure if Greg Jennings is next, but all right, I got to go. All right, welcome back to the Herd. I'm Jason Whitlock on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Colin Cowherd out today, traveling back from Miami. All right, Alexi Lawless will join us in this hour to talk about the MLS All-Star Game. In the last hour of the show, Willie Colon will join us. I think we're going to bring Mark Schlereth onto the show to talk some NFL. I want to take some more phone calls, and then I want to transition to Joe Montana, who had some interesting comments about Colin Kaepernick today or yesterday. But before that, I want to take some more of your phone calls. Benji in Brooklyn, welcome to the Herd.
Hey, what's up, Jace?
What's up?
Hey, my question is, what do you expect them to do in other contact sports such as football and NBA, because they already trash talk on the court and on the field?
They do trash talk, but I think they could amp the trash talk up more than they do in the NBA and particularly in the NFL, which is a combat sport. And I think you could start seeing more of the trash talk in the press conferences, more disrespect in the press conferences. I could see, some of the more outspoken personalities in the NFL apply some of this to the NFL, from Gronkowski, an Odell Beckham Jr., Josh Norman. And again, I'm not sure if trash talk in the press conferences during the week, I'm not sure if that would be a horrible thing for the NFL, but it would be different. There tends to be a lot of respect among NFL peers and they try to just, the 60 minutes they're playing the game, the 3 hours they're playing the game, all hell and anything is okay. But before the game, after the game, there have been rules. There has been a level of respect, and I think we could see some of that go out the window.
All right, well, you were talking about the NFL. Now, what about the NBA where you got high school players that grow up and play together, and you got a KD who joins the super team?
Again, I don't think it would apply to the overall NBA, but could there be some guys that take some steps to enhance their brand? Again, I think if you look at some of the protests that went on in the NFL and the NBA, I think a lot of that has to do with brand enhancement. Some of the guys I think are legitimate and concerned and trying to do the right thing. But I think many of them, it's been explained to them, this is good for your brand.
All right, I understand. Good looks.
All right, thank you, Benji. Thank you. Mike in Cleveland. Mike thinks the Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz press conferences were better. Mike, welcome to the Herd.
Hey, how's it going, Jason?
Great.
Oh, yeah. Basically, my one point would be that if you look back and you watch the Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor press conferences, the press conference yesterday was maybe a tenth of how heated that one got. And I think that's only going to get worse going on throughout this tour because one of the big differences between boxing and UFC press conferences, we found out yesterday that I don't think Conor McGregor had any idea that it would be press conference style where he goes up and gives a speech, whereas in the UFC they have writers, analysts ask questions and then they respond. So I think today he'll be a lot better prepared. And
Mike, let me tell you where I disagree with you at. I think Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, real animus. That was not a show. That's two guys that don't like each other, who had been in a fight and been in a war with each other before, and there was real animus. With Floyd and Conor, it felt like a show, an entertaining show, a unique show. And again, it felt more like a rap battle. And a lot of the rap battles, look, some of the rap battles are real, Biggie and Tupac, but that is more of a show and for entertainment. And that's what this felt like. McGregor Diaz felt like two guys that couldn't stand each other, that knew they were headed in for a war. You don't feel that difference?
100% agree, but I think when you hear Conor talking, as much as nobody else believes he'll win, I think that for some reason he just thinks he can do anything and he'll win this fight. As terms of like when Floyd's talking, when you hear Floyd's people talking, I feel like they have more responsibility to sell the fight, and that's why when you hear Floyd Sr. talking or you hear Floyd talking, they say, this may go to a decision, or Conor's long and lengthy, younger, but I think for them it's really just trying to sell the fight to get more pay-per-view.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. One of the things I found interesting in my interview with Floyd Sr., and I hope I'm not breaking a confidence, because when we were talking before he came on the show in my dressing room, he didn't say it was off the record. He sat down and confidently had a conversation with me about the fact that when I was like, I think Floyd's going to knock him out in 5 rounds, he was like, pump the brakes, man. He talked about how hard it is to get back in boxing shape. And if you understand where a boxer's hands are at age 40, in terms of how much punch, he goes, look, when you deliver knockout blows, you're also, punishing your own fist. And he's just like, where Floyd's hands are at, you may be unrealistic in your expectation of Floyd knocking Conor McGregor out. I don't think Floyd has to be some devastating, hard-hitting puncher to knock out Conor McGregor. I think Conor McGregor has never had a steady jab just pounding him in the face for 3 and 4 and 5 rounds. And I just think the totality, they don't have to be that hard hits, but if people keep hitting you repeatedly, eventually it takes its toll. And I think that's what's going to knock Conor McGregor out.
So Floyd's not the kind of guy to knock someone out. That's just not his style. And for Conor, I don't know that it's necessarily repeated jabs to the face. It's that one power jab that knocks you out, and it's whether or not you have a good enough chin to take it. And I tend to think that Conor does, Because in UFC, like you do get your face hit or your neck kind of twisted with power behind it. So
and with smaller gloves,
right? And he's taken that before. So I don't think this is going to be a knockout either way. I think it's going to go maybe 10 rounds,
and someone will quit.
And yeah,
listen. I'm just
or the ref will call it.
I think, to me, Floyd is such a skilled boxer, and Floyd Mayweather Sr. talked about it today. Floyd's not going to get hit. He's the greatest defensive fighter we've ever seen. Floyd won't get touched, and so he's going to frustrate Conor to such a level that Conor's going to leave himself open, and Floyd is just going to, again, there won't be this devastating, like, oh my God, did you see that one punch knockout? But Floyd is going to land so many punches, so efficiently, so precisely, that eventually the guy's going to fall. It just, 50 punches to the head can do more damage than one great punch to the head.
That's a knockdown. That's not a knockout. There's the difference. He falls, and then he can get back up.
You just made a great point. Why did you do that to me, Christine?
Because I make good points, and I actually watch boxing.
You don't have to make a great point. That just just took the air out of my balloon.
I'm not trying to take the air out. I'm just saying, and to me, I wonder psychologically for Conor, if he is knocked down or if he is getting frustrated, his natural instincts are going to go to what kind of UFC move can I use right now? But he can't do that because that's against the rules that they've set up. So psychologically, it's going to be a very difficult thing. And even for Floyd, he's going to be facing a guy that doesn't fight like a boxer. It's just going to be a different element.
You raise another interesting point because Conor McGregor yesterday said, if your son doesn't respect me, I can choke him out very easily. Now, he was talking in context about respect me during this press conference. But I think if he's getting embarrassed, he can't. It's round 3, and he hasn't laid one punch on Floyd. And Floyd just keeps patting him in the face. I could see Conor getting so frustrated that he would do something MMA-ish just to rattle Floyd, and who cares?
But then the fight's over, and he, in the contract, we don't know the specific amount of money, but Conor loses his money if he does anything MMA. So he can't do that. I just wonder if in the moment it will take over him and he won't be thinking about the contract and the money, and he'll just be so frustrated to do something like that.
No, I don't. There hasn't been one moment since this conversation started about these two guys fighting that Conor hasn't thought about the money. He's thinking about the money in his sleep. He's thinking about the money when he's having sex. He's thinking about the money when he's at a bar. When he gets in that ring, that's all he's going to be thinking about. Well, when this is over, I get that check, right?
You can tell that he's thinking a lot about the specifics of the agreement, because I did think it wasn't cool of Floyd to keep bringing up, I'll fight you in the octagon, or I'll fight you with these gloves. And Conor kept saying, well, no, you won't, because you made sure that it was in the contract that we wouldn't do that. So I don't think it's cool of Floyd to be putting that out there when on paper he won't put his money where his mouth is.
All right. When we come back, Alexi Lawless is going to join us next. We're going to talk some MLS All-Star Soccer. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. All right, welcome back to the Herd. I'm Jason Whitlock, sitting in for Colin Cowherd on this Wednesday afternoon. Alexi Lawless joining us now on the Herd. Lexi, get in here. Talk some Gold Cup soccer tonight. U.S. versus Martinique.
My hero.
I'm your hero?
The brains of the organization. We all know that. Hello, sir. How are we doing?
How are you?
All right. Your Honor, how are you?
Good to
Your Honor.
Judge Jason.
Exactly.
George Greenberg, I don't know if you know him. Years ago, he wanted me to do a show, Judge Jason. And
Did he really? I know George Greenberg.
Yes. All right, Lexi. You know what, Lexi?
Yes,
You're
sir.
kind of big for a soccer player, right? You're kind of tall.
The stereotype of a soccer player is a squat, low center of gravity, big-thighed, shorter type of person, yes.
What, you like 6'2"?
6'3", yeah. 6'4" when I had the hair. Yep.
6'5" when you had the hair.
Yeah.
And so baseball was just overtaken by Aaron Judge, 6'7", 280 pounds. that's how you, in America, you show up big and bold and you look different than everybody else out there. It's like when Tiger Woods came to golf. You don't really have that in soccer. Is that?
I see where you're going.
Could a bigger person, could a LeBron James, if he had tried soccer, would he have been a superstar in soccer?
So this is that evergreen type of question. If all of our greatest athletes, all of our American greatest athletes in the other sports actually started playing soccer, would we be that much further along? I think it's easy to say that, but I don't think it necessarily works that way because of the specifics used in soccer. I think a lot of these great athletes that we look at are great athletes within that sport. And I'm not saying that there aren't athletes that have excelled in multiple sports, but I don't think it's as simple as saying take a LeBron James and if you started him playing soccer at an early age, he would be a great soccer player. You look at Messi, one of the greatest soccer players ever to play the game. If he was walking down Sepulveda Boulevard, all right, nobody would know if they didn't know anything about soccer that that's one of the greatest soccer players in the world. That's one of the great things about soccer. You don't have to be fast, you don't have to be tall, you don't have to be strong, but you better be smart. And that, I think, is something that is unique in comparison to other sports. It doesn't hurt. Believe me, athleticism is important in sports, and you can have a very, very good career by being athletic. But I don't think it's as simple as saying, take LeBron James and he'll be a good soccer player.
Look, I'm a football meathead, and you've now insulted me.
What's that?
That's
redundant, right?
Yeah, you've insulted me.
Football
Soccer
meathead.
Players are smarter than football players? Is that what you're alleging?
Oh, yeah.
What? What do you mean you just got to run up and down? We got to remember plays.
You get your play. You're told what to do in a robotic sense, and you carry out your orders. You go up and down. That works on a field, all right, and maybe that works in battle to a certain extent. But in real life, when you're out there and you're relying on your wits, you have to be able to adjust on the fly. You have to be able to make decisions for yourself. There's a level of maturity and evolution that I think that applies to soccer players.
None of that applies to football. We
Absolutely
don't have to
not.
think for ourselves.
No, you do your play that your coach told you that he sent in, and then it either works or it doesn't. Yes, sir. And off you go. In soccer, you can't do that. The coach sets you up and gives you opportunities and gives you different things that you can do, and then you go on the field, and then it's up to you individually and collectively as a team to figure out what things to access when you're going. There's no playbook.
Alexa, you've never lined up in a three-point stance with some guy mad as hell across from you who might go this way, might go that way, and you have to adjust everything on the fly based off what the guy in front of you does. There's a lot of thinking going on in football.
Come on.
We're better coached than soccer players, and yes, you have to have some skills. Soccer, everybody just runs up and down the field.
No, but what do you mean? There's the big guy, all right, and uses his strength to keep the little guy away, right? Isn't that when you're lining up in a three-point stance? Isn't that what happens? If he goes right,
it's not a little
you move
guy.
Right, you move that big body to the left, and you block him. That's what you do. And if you're a wide receiver, you run a pattern that has been taught to you and given to you.
There's so many adjustments that these guys got to make based on coverage, based on what Richard Sherman does.
They're following orders.
I thought you were going to make a great point about you got to be low to the ground to be a great soccer player, right?
Not necessarily. I wasn't low to the ground. My center of gravity wasn't great, and I'm not saying I'm a great soccer
player. You were
player,
a defensive
but I did okay.
player, though, right?
Yeah, but the ball in the air is part of soccer, and so the ability in the air to head the ball is important, and so that was one of the fortes that I had.
Is it harder we've all said it. Let's go back to LeBron James. A 6'8" guy playing soccer, there probably aren't any, are there?
Sure, there are big guys. That would be definitely on the high end of players. There are some guys that are big, but when you see a player like that, the ability in the air is something that automatically you're going to turn to. It's not that it can't be done, but certainly some of the best players in the world, that low center of gravity. So Barry Sanders, all right, a guy like him, I think he would have been a very good soccer player because of that low center of gravity, his ability to go here and there and to move both himself and you in the process.
All right, we have an old, new soccer coach for U.S. Soccer, Bruce Arena.
Yes.
Gold Cup tonight against Martinique. these aren't the big name players playing tonight.
It's a B team right now, but I will tell you that when you watch this Gold Cup team, you will see players that will feature next summer in the World Cup in Russia. This is their opportunity to plant a seed in Bruce Arena's head to say, you know what, Bruce, I can help you. I am of value to you. So if you're talking about a Dom Dwyer who has scored in the last 2 games, saying, hey, I'm a guy that you can put in there and it's going to score. Those are important things. So this is an opportunity for all of these guys to say that they belong next summer when that World Cup comes along.
How are we different now with Bruce Arena as the coach? How are we playing different? What has manifested now with Bruce Arena back in charge?
I think there's an organization. I think that there's a confidence. I think that there's a confidence that he gives the players. I think that there is a better understanding of what the expectations are individually and collectively, and not just internally. I think Bruce Arena has used the media in a very smart way to be able to manage expectations, but also give a confidence that the ship is heading in the right direction now. And look, the results stand for themselves. He has yet to lose as the coach. It wasn't a good first game in this Gold Cup. I expect a much better performance against an albeit lesser opponent in Martinique tonight.
When Jurgen Klinsmann, when we fired him, I remember, I think you kind of liked the move and you thought going to Bruce Arena was the right move.
I think if you were going to fire Jurgen Klinsmann at that point, yes, Bruce Arena is not only the right move, I think the only move because of his experience, because of his understanding. Look, Bruce Arena is a wonderful motivator. He will tell you he is not the best when it comes to the X's and O's, but he will motivate the individual players. He will give people their responsibilities and their roles and their expectations that he has of them and that the team has of the individual. So this is a guy that's been there, done that, and I think he's got them headed in the right direction. This is not a romantic. This is not sexy soccer. This is not progressive. This is pragmatism, and this is, for the moment, the person that was brought in to rectify the situation.
Bruce Arena, big deal for U.S. soccer. Bigger deal, Christian Pulisic. He is the LeBron James, hopefully, or he's something for us in U.S. soccer. Where's he at? What's going on with him?
So he's not part of this Gold Cup team because he came off of a very long season with Borussia Dortmund. This is an 18-year-old phenom who is playing consistently over in Germany with Borussia Dortmund and with the United States. And so this is something that I think you have to be excited. Bless you over there. You have to be excited about what's going on with Christian Pulisic. This is a young guy. You're not going to hurt him, by the way, by putting pressure on him. It's not going to overload him. And by the way, if it does overload him, then he's not the Messiah that everybody makes him out to be. It's okay to put pressure on a young player. He is living up to it time and time again. But we look at it as possibly this is the guy that's leading us to the promised land when it comes to success at the World Cup. I don't know if that's going to happen, but this is a special, special player and one that we haven't seen the likes of when it comes to U.S. soccer.
I would love to compare, not my GPA, but the overall GPA of my college football team. My GPA was low. I brought it down. But the overall GPA of my college football team versus anybody you went to college with, guarantee you. Football players are smart. All right. Thank you, Lexi.
Thank you.
All right. Here's Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
I love it whenever players are mic'd up. I think that's the best. And I especially love it during the All-Star game because it's already a loose atmosphere. They don't have to really focus, so you get some good conversations out of them. And Bryce Harper was mic'd up during the All-Star game, so he was talking to Joe Buck. And of all subjects, they started talking about Dak Prescott.
How do you think Dak's going to be this year?
I think he'll be. I have not met a more impressive young player coming into the NFL in the time I have covered.
Oh, man, he's fun to watch. I mean, watching him on Sundays and Mondays, Thursdays, I mean, that guy, him and Zeke, I mean, unbelievable. Just a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah, Dak is a special kid and tough.
Oh, absolutely. Mentally and physically.
I just think that's so cool. Apparently, Dak Prescott was watching this game as well because he heard what Bryce said, and so he tweeted him this. He said, I appreciate the love, Bryce Harper. You're that dude, though, every day of the week. This stuff makes me love sports. I love this. When they talk about each other, they're loose, they're being themselves. I love it.
I love, and again, this will sound homerish or whatever, I loved our broadcast of the game last night. And there were a few small complaints. People were like, oh my God, it's too much of an exhibition. They're interviewing players on the field. As a fan, because it was an exhibition, I loved it.
Yeah.
I wanted that access when Alex Rodriguez went on the field and was actually interviewing guys, when Joe Buck was talking to him and John Smoltz were talking to him from the press box. I thought it was terrific. I don't think it in any way diminished the game, diminished the level of intensity. Pitcher Max Scherzer was throwing the ball hard as hell. That was a great competitive game. They went extra innings, one on a home run by Robinson Cano in overtime. In extra innings, that was a tremendous success last night, and all the interviews and all the access to the players was great.
Well, what do you want them to call it, like a regular game? This isn't a regular game by any
agree.
means, and it's a chance for these guys to go out and have fun. I think one of the things in baseball, and players will admit to you, there's so many games they don't even really want to be there sometimes. So at least give them an opportunity to have some fun and have it be lighthearted.
Did you see?
And do this kind of interview stuff.
Did you see the selfie? The guy took the picture with the umpire at home plate.
I've seen it. I was on an airplane during the game, so.
That was the only thing where I was like, might be doing a little too much.
Why?
But it still didn't bother me. It still didn't bother me.
I don't care at all. You know, when I was there last year, guys had their cell phones out the whole time and they were taking videos in the dugout. So go have a good time. At the end of the day, sports is fun. It's entertainment.
That is true.
So let it be that at least for one day. Rajon Rondo apparently has met with Lakers president Magic Johnson in Los Angeles. There have been rumors that the Lakers are interested in bringing Rondo in to help them out. I do not think this would work. Not even a little bit. And it also reminds me of the time a couple years ago when Kobe Bryant and Rondo had that secret breakfast meeting that got out. Oh, there it is. We got the picture. This is at Paramount, one of the best restaurants in Boston, by the way. I used to live down the street from there. But they were having breakfast, the two of them, when the Lakers were in town to play the Celtics. And everyone was talking about, is Rondo going to go play for the Lakers now? Which is interesting for so many reasons because Rondo is still cool with like KG and Paul Pierce and all those guys who all collectively agree like you cannot play for the Lakers. That's just one thing. Once you're a Celtic, you can't do that. So for Rondo to maybe be thinking about it is interesting, but maybe he doesn't have any other options. Besides the fact, Rondo working with these young guys in LA, because I would assume that's what Magic wants him to do, is kind of be a mentor and a vet. Rondo is so smart. His basketball IQ is off the charts. And if those guys aren't on his level, he won't have patience for it. So it doesn't work.
Well, I don't get it because it seems like he would be in the way of Lonzo Ball. They play the same position.
That too.
And my position is, after watching now, I'm only basing it off 2 Summer League games. My nickname for Lonzo is LaRondo Ball. That he's a 6'6" Rajon Rondo. Awkward shot. He shot a poor percentage from 3-point range. I just don't see where adding Rajon and taking minutes away from, or I just don't see that as a good mix. I don't get that.
I don't think so either. Doesn't work. But maybe Rondo's got to do what he's got to do now.
Get that money.
And finally, Chris Paul is saying that he felt like it was time for a change and that the trade was good for him and the Clippers. I do believe this. I believe that this is why Chris Paul left and not anything to do with Austin. As I've said before, I think Chris's issue was that he couldn't get the roster changes he wanted. Doc was always on his side, sometimes to the point where other guys on the team didn't like it. But this core was clearly not working. They weren't getting any further in the playoffs. They weren't changing their roster, so something had to give. And Chris Paul decided to take it in his own hands, get out of there, and now the Clippers are forced to do something different. They're not going to be as good, but something had to change.
These rumors that Carmelo feels confident he's going to Houston make me think this was probably discussed between Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony.
Sure.
They're friends. Hey, we can hook up together in Houston.
Well, because remember, there was a rumor that Carmelo was going to come to the Clippers. And then the rumor was that Doc wasn't willing to give up Austin for it. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I do think that Chris and Carmelo want to play together. They're the banana boat friends. So I think that they probably talked, hey, if we go to Houston, there's potential that this could work out, even though Mike D'Antoni might not necessarily like it.
Great job, Christine. That's Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
All right, I want to switch topics. I want to transition into Joe Montana had some very interesting things to say. Joe Montana, who's never, ever been outspoken. Joe Montana, who, most people flopped as a TV broadcaster. Very interesting and outspoken things to say about Colin Kaepernick. He jumped into the deep end of the pool and into some real controversy here, in my opinion. Here's arguably the greatest quarterback in NFL history, certainly the greatest quarterback in 49ers history, saying this about Colin Kaepernick to the Sporting News. You look at Tim Tebow, great guy, and everybody was talking about him. But what it comes down to is 40% completion or even in the low 50s. You can't win in the league with that. You won't be in the league very long. It comes down to his play as much as anything. Everyone thinks it is the stance he took. One of the things you don't look for is distractions in the locker room. You can go back to Bill Walsh, and as soon as there were guys that weren't fitting in and weren't fitting in what he was looking for, it didn't matter how good you were. You weren't on the team for very long. You have to have people who want the same thing, fighting for the same thing, and willing to put the time in. This is my point. Football people that are just arguing about football, they're done with Colin Kaepernick. This is the San Francisco 49ers' greatest ambassador, greatest player to ever play for the 49ers, has access to whatever amount of information is available about Colin Kaepernick. He has access to it because of his standing in that community and with that team. He has analogized Kaepernick to the guy I analogized Kaepernick to when this whole thing started last September, Tim Tebow. And everyone's like, oh, it's the stance. Oh, it's racial discrimination. This is football speaking. It's not about race. 70% of the league is black. Several black players in that league, including Malcolm Jenkins, raised black fists all last year during the national anthem. They protested. You had St. Louis Rams players the year before come up with hands up, don't shoot symbols. They're still in the league. All this Kaepernick is being blackballed. There are all kinds of players. Joe Montana just said it. This is factual, who have the talent to play in the NFL, but the NFL says, you know what? I'm done with you. You're not all in. You're too much of a distraction. We don't want to be bothered with it. The reason why this bothers me so much, and the reason why I've been so outspoken, I grew up with Jeff George. I could make the argument he's the most physically gifted quarterback in the history of football, and there are football people that will back me up on it. The NFL got tired of Jeff George and basically canceled him at age 34. More talent, more production than Colin Kaepernick ever hoped to have in the NFL. Jeff George was Rookie of the Year. One year he threw 29 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He carried the Vikings on a nice playoff run. Didn't get him to the Super Bowl, and I know Kaepernick did. But again, the NFL said, you know what? We don't want you anymore, even though he had tremendous talent and still had the ability to help some teams. Tim Tebow, not that talented, but talented enough to be on an NFL roster. The NFL said, you know what? We don't want you anymore. We don't want to deal with questions about you when you're our backup quarterback. We don't want to deal with all of your sycophants and fans who want to see you out there, even though we have a quarterback we're committed to. We don't want to deal with your passive-aggressive BS that Tim Tebow did. And the NFL said goodbye to Tim Tebow. And I cheered that. I was never on the Tim Tebow bandwagon. I was on the Colin Kaepernick bandwagon. Early in his career with Jim Harbaugh, and when he came in, I'm friends with Alex Smith. I wasn't at the time, but I was all for Kaepernick taking Alex Smith's job. And so I used to be all in with Kaepernick. But as a football person, and again, the things he wants to support and the way he wants to go about supporting those things, I got some disagreement about. It's not, his heart's in the right place. His execution is bad. But as a football person, I get why football is done with Colin Kaepernick. It's not because, these bigoted NFL owners, and they just can't stand Colin Kaepernick and what he stood for. That ain't it. It's what Joe Montana said right here. You can go back to Bill Walsh, and as soon as there were guys that weren't fitting in what he was looking for, it didn't matter how good you were. You weren't on the team for very long. You have to have people who want the same thing, fighting for the same thing, and willing to put in the time. And what he's basically saying, particularly at the quarterback position, you want people who are all in on football. Listen to what Bill O'Brien said about Tom Brady.
One of the most difficult jobs you can have is coaching Tom, because he wants to be coached. Yeah. You coach him every single day, all year round. The reason why he is what he is because he's obsessed with football. When you're coaching him, you better be ready to go at a moment's notice, whether it's for a meeting or practice or game, and it made me a much better coach.
That's, again, is every quarterback like Tom Brady? No. But you damn sure better be if when you sign up for a team, there's a press circus following you. If you're going to be that big of a headache and the baggage of having you includes a bunch of questions from the press that don't have a damn thing to do with football, you better be Tom Brady. You better be all in on football. You better be obsessive about the game and prepared better than any other player. That's when they'll put up with the other bogus BS that goes along with you. If you're just a guy, if you're a borderline starter or a backup, the NFL ain't got time for you if there's a bunch of baggage. That's been with white players, black players, Samoan players, Latino players, whomever. Joe Montana, I guess people are probably ripping him on the internet and calling him every kind of bigot and racist in the world because he spoke the truth about Colin Kaepernick. I know Joe Montana. He ain't got no problem with black people. None at all. All right, when we come back, I want to take your phone calls. 877-757-4373 is the phone number to call. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. All right, welcome back to the Herd on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Jason Whitlock sitting in for Colin Cowherd, taking your phone calls at 877-757-4373. 877-757-4373. Willie Colon, former NFL lineman, will join us in the next hour of the show. I just did my rant on Colin Kaepernick and Joe Montana. Abed in Ohio, you think Kaepernick is still a star in this league?
No, but the situation is being overblown. If he was a star, we wouldn't be having this conversation. He would be in the league, correct?
Yeah, that's our point. He's not good enough for the attention. It's no different than Tebow.
Okay, but what he's doing, his attention isn't for himself. It's for the better of the country. He wouldn't be doing this
I bet. Hold on, let me stop you for it. And I'm not going to – you can have that point of view. There are others, like myself, who think that he is doing this for himself, that this is about working through his identity issues and building the Kaepernick brand. I disagree with you. I'm not going to push back. You can have your opinion, but there are those of us who think he started this trying to build his own brand. It wasn't really about the country. And there are those of us that say, let's say he is trying to improve the country. There was a better approach, a more effective way to go about it.
Okay, if there's a better approach, do you think he would get the same amount of attention? I don't think so. By taking a kneel for the national anthem.
I bet. Let me ask you this. Why do you think attention is some great solution or some great, you got to have attention? A lot of progress is made quietly. And the kind of progress that he's talking about is going to happen in Congress and with our lawmakers in order to improve the things he's talking about. I think he's talking about.
Well, if he did it silently, there's no way he would approach all millions of people, not just in the U.S., but around the world, by taking a kneel for the national anthem.
I bet. Have you considered, and I really appreciate you saying these things and give us a chance to talk, have you considered that his approach and all the attention he's gotten to the choir that he's preaching to, it's been effective. But to the other people, and there may be more people on the other side, it's been ineffective and made them resist even stronger what he's campaigning for.
I do believe you have a point in that, but what I think is he's getting a lot of people to think. And if you're racist in America, one person or a big major star isn't going to make you change your mind. I
bet. This is one thing I would love for people. Man, I really appreciate this phone call. Let's don't categorize all of Kaepernick's critics as racist. That's really highly unfair. I'm a Kaepernick critic. I love black people. I love being black. I am pro improving things for black people. I don't think Kaepernick has taken the right approach, and I don't think his focus on police brutality is the right issue. But continue.
Okay, so if he was more quiet about it, obviously he wouldn't get the mainstream media to be even talking about it or be considering anything. Obviously, he's spent a lot of money, and you talked about his brand, but what do you think is better, to get out in the national media or to be on an NFL team, potentially winning games? Obviously, he'd get a bigger contract. He'd be making more money. I think that performance on the field or the court, whatever sport, you make your brand better. It doesn't matter what you do off the court. If you don't produce on the field, your brand is going to diminish significantly.
Yeah, no, he's learning that. He's not on a team. His platform is being diminished. His ability to earn money and to use that wealth to help the people he says he want to help, it's being diminished, taken away from him.
And look, he spent millions of dollars, and I saw
not millions, but he spent a significant sum of money. Can't take that away from him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why you have to look at it. Obviously, any time you have to take an issue, like a major issue like racism in America, there's no way you could approach it 100% perfectly. Either way you do it, there's going to be cons. If you do it quietly, you're not going to hit
let me ask you this. And I'm really, really glad you called. This whole, let's take on racism in America. Again, that's so big. That's the equivalent of let's take on air in the world. Again, because I'm just racial bigotry and unfairness along racial lines has been in the world since the beginning of time. It's not going to go away. We're trying to fix people's feelings. And again, what I don't think Kaepernick understands and some other people don't understand is the 1960s were about fixing laws.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, again, America, you can address laws. You can't legislate feelings. And it's stupid because once you start legislating feelings, the next thing you know, they're legislating my feelings, my father's feelings. And it's not the right thing to do. It can't be done. It will lead to anarchy and rebellion. You can't start legislating people's feelings. And again, many of my feelings are inappropriate. I don't want them legislated against. My father was a great person. He had some inappropriate feelings. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. All right, welcome back to the Herd. I'm Jason Whitlock, sitting in for Colin Cowherd on this Wednesday afternoon. Final hour of the show. Mark Schlereth will join us here shortly. Mark Schlereth, former Denver Bronco, former Washington Redskin, Super Bowl champion. Fresh on the FS1 boat. He left ESPN to come here. Great conversation with him yesterday on Speak for Yourself. Looking forward to continuing that conversation today. Willie Colon, former Pittsburgh Steeler, New York Jet. He's going to join us also in this hour. I'm going to go back to the phones. James in Kansas City. Welcome to the Herd.
Hey, man, I ain't got a lot of time before I got to go lock down, man, but you killing me, man. I got to argue positive.
Before you what?
He's back?
Oh, yeah, before you go where?
Before I go, I got to hurry and get locked down. Look, man, I ain't got a lot of time for you, man. I got to go. So
he called collect. All right, go ahead, James.
Wait. Well, you said you got to get locked down. Like
he called collect.
From
yes.
Jail?
Yes.
Oh.
Go ahead.
They have the Herd playing in jail?
See, that's the reason Lamar told her don't talk to him.
Hey, James. Damn you. Frank in Los Angeles. Frank, welcome to the Herd.
All right, Jason. I mean, it's a complex issue, and as a black man, I get a lot of flack for it for my opinion and the way I stand on this. But I'm going to say this again. Like I've been saying this since this happened, or since the end of the season. Colin Kaepernick just isn't good enough as a quarterback. Like if you want to just take a random sample, if you look at it, I get a lot of flack for it. I mean, there's a statement I used to hear all the time, and it's like talent outweighs morals. Like the same applies here in the reverse as well. So if this was Aaron Rodgers or somebody of that type of caliber ability that did or said the things he did, they would find a way to overlook it. You wouldn't this is the NFL is a business, and it's about winning games, it's about making money. Like he's just not good enough on the field. And you take away the Super Bowl appearance and like what Harbaugh was able to do with him, he is just not a good enough player. You watch him, if you watch the tape, you look at the eye test, he's just not a good enough player for it. So what happens is that nobody wants to deal with that or that kind of headache for a halfway decent, probably backup quarterback at best. And, as a lifelong Redskins fan, I used to have this debate with people about RG3 and different things going on with that. And when I said it the first year, I was like, this is a gimmick offense and what they're trying to do with him. And he's just not that good of a player when it comes down to the X's and O's. And if you're not willing to put in that work to be that kind of a player, who's going to want to have you on a team? So people want to use it and make it a race issue. It's not that. Like, we need to look at these things for what they really are. If you're good enough, nobody's going to care about that. Well, they're going to care, but they're going to take it like, okay, we can stomach the headache that you might cause. That's just how, I just don't understand how this is that complex. And I hear all the people is he being blackballed, this and that. Like, you have to be good enough for this to really matter. Like, look at his numbers. Just take a look at his actual career statistics. They actually match up very, very similarly with RG3's, to be quite honest with you. He has more starts or whatever the case may be. But it's just look at the numbers. RG3 is somebody that no one's even talking about now, I guess because there was no controversy about him. But he's a guy that also wasn't good enough on the field. And no one's even brought his name up in free agency. He's been a free agent quarterback this whole time.
Thank you, Frank. Good phone call. I got to go. Mark Schlereth, Super Bowl champion, former Denver Bronco, Washington Redskin, joining us here in the Herd. I don't know what happened. I had to go hunt you down. I just assumed you would be on the show today. And I get in here. Well, where's Schlereth?
I like the way. By the way, you guys have Colin's seat up here so we can talk down on you, right? I mean, just like lord over you. I'm Colin Cowherd,
and then you can turn around and see.
But you could probably tell that I was getting my swole on. That's why you guys couldn't find me.
I can tell that
you were working out.
Yeah, I was working out.
You'll be an inspiration to me. Listen, you're gonna come to love Cowherd. But he does have a big ego.
Yeah,
he does like his throne.
Trust me, I know him well.
King Cowherd is what we like to call him. Hey, listen, Joe Montana, who rarely says anything that provocative, he just dove headfirst into the deep end of the pool, comparing Colin Kaepernick to Tim Tebow, which I think is a legitimate analogy. Tebow played in Denver. I think Elway reached the conclusion that not good enough for all the attention and the headache, and we, had an opportunity to get Peyton Manning. But what do you think of Joe Montana's Tebow Kaepernick analogy?
I think it's very apropos. I think that Joe Montana is right on. And here's the issue. And I know there are a lot of Tebow zealots out there that I'm going to tweet me all over the place and be angry with me, but the truth of the matter is that the offense that you have to run to have success with a Tebow or with a Colin Kaepernick or with an RG3 is an offense that's unsustainable in the National Football League. It just is. It is a gimmick college Chip Kelly offense that's not sustainable in the National Football League. Bottom line. And so if you're going to bring that guy on your team, you're going to have to take 22 other guys or 11 guys on offense and 11 guys on defense, and you're going to have to completely have two separate offenses for your backup quarterback who you are on penitent knee hoping never has to play. So why do I want to bring that guy into my system and have two entirely separate offenses to make him a backup? Because when you start to look at Colin Kaepernick or RG3 or any of these guys that try to transition them from what Jim Harbaugh was doing when Colin Kaepernick went to the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers and try to transition him to a legitimate drop-back quarterback, they don't have the skill set. They don't have the requisite skill set to play in that system. They don't have the accuracy. Colin Kaepernick has a really long arm action, which allows defensive backs to jump balls. That's the issue. So you're talking about, do I want to bring in for lack of a better term, a sideshow? Do I want to bring that in for a backup guy who's going to take that much attention away from my football team and have to have multiple offenses? It's not a black and white issue. It's a black and red issue. Do I want Colin Kaepernick on my team when he was kneeling down and doing all those things? Me personally, good for you, man. Good for standing up for you or kneeling down for what you believe in. I applaud him for that. There is no question he has the right to do that. And I applaud him for making that decision. Good for you. But the bottom line, there were a lot of guys that kneeled down in solidarity with him. You know what they have? They have jobs. You know why they have jobs? They can play. And you don't have to create a separate system for them to be able to play in it. So that's why Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job. I talked to a guy who served 3 tours of duty.
Blair's good, by the way. Continue.
I talked to a guy who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. And you know what he told me? He goes, I fought for the right for Colin Cowherd to protest the national anthem. Kaepernick, excuse me. Not Cowherd. I fought for his right to protest, right? He goes, I also fought for the owner's rights not to hire him if they don't want to. Those are the rights I fought for. And you know what? How am I going to argue with that guy? He served this country so I can get up here and talk about football. How good is this country, man? How blessed am I? So that's why he doesn't have a job, not because I don't believe that he's getting blackballed. I believe that you look at it and says, hey, it doesn't make fiscal sense for us.
There's several questions I want to ask you coming off that. I want to stay on Kaepernick. It's not just you have to change your offense, but I think from that position, the quarterback position and the money you invest in a quarterback,
sure,
a team has the right to say, you know what, at this position, I want guys who are all in on football. Mm-hmm. It's that goes along with the job. So even if he were a starter for one of the worst 5 teams in the league, the Jets or something like that, they have a right to say, if you're going to be our starter, we want you all in on football, and the protest and all that other stuff needs to be done in the off season or in a way that doesn't create a distraction for the team. They have a right to ask that from that position, no?
No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, you have the right to ask it from any position.
Yeah.
It's part of your player's contract, and if they deem it conduct detrimental to our team because you are taking attention away from the rest of the guys, or you're creating one thing you hate to have to do when you walk into a locker room is answer a bunch of questions about things you don't want to answer a bunch of questions about. So what ends up happening to you is this kind of sacred space that is our locker room. As soon as they open it up to the media, you know what everybody does? Scurries. Go into the training room, go down to the equipment room, get into the weight room, get away from it because I don't want to have to answer those questions. And you know what it does? It takes me out of my routine. And that's irritating. And I'm not saying, I'm not looking at Colin Kaepernick and saying, boy, you're a bad guy. I love Colin Kaepernick, man. I love the kid that he is, man. I've got to be around him a couple times. I'm a big Colin Kaepernick fan as a man. As a man, I am. As a player, I think he's very average. And, you know, I feel the same way about Tim Tebow. I mean, I was at practice watching Tim Tebow, and Joe Montana compared him to Tim Tebow. And this is the honest-to-goodness truth, and I'm not trying to be funny. And I'm not trying to bash a kid. Right? You know what? Right now, Tim Tebow is a far better professional baseball player than he was a professional quarterback.
I want to qualify and put what Mark said in context. Mark's son has played in the Major League Baseball, so you know baseball. Right. You're not just speculating and trying to make a joke.
No, I'm telling you, he's a better baseball player, not than a football player. The kid's a great football player. He's not a quarterback. He can't play that position. And he's been offered opportunities to play other positions, and he turned them down because he wanted to be a quarterback. Right now, he's a better baseball player than he was a quarterback. And I kid you not, again, not trying to be funny, but I was at practice. I mean, I was at multiple practices because I do a local radio show on 104.3 The Fan in Denver, Colorado. So I'm at training camp every day, and I'm watching practice. And literally, and you know, this is going to sound like a joke, and people are going to be mad at me, you know, and I'm going to get eviscerated on Twitter. But there was a time when I was watching practice, and I thought to myself, "Are you sure you're left-handed?" That's how bad it was. I was like, my God, put that thing in your right hand and see if you're actually right-handed. It literally was that bad. And he's the greatest kid in the world. You know, this won't make air. You know, because I know how we do things, right? We'll chop out the one nasty thing I say. He's the greatest kid in the world. He's a hard worker. Man, I find him completely genuine. I love what he stands for. I love his stand for Christ. I love everything that he does, man. He cannot play quarterback in this league. He is a better baseball player than he is a professional quarterback.
At the time when he led Denver to playoff victories, were you saying similar things?
The exact same thing. Listen, like I said, the kid plays his butt off. The kid is a great kid. The kid is not a quarterback. And again, I look at those type of offenses, and we started this conversation by saying those offenses are unsustainable. Yeah. You remember when the Miami Dolphins broke out the Wildcat on the New England Patriots and rushed for about, 300 yards, 250 yards, whatever it was. I don't have the stat in front of me. I'm not a stats guy. But you remember it, right?
Yes.
And then it went like wildfire through the league, right? Everybody had Wildcat, wild horses, wild ponies, wild whatever it was, right? Everybody had their own nickname.
Wild gone wild.
Right. Wild birds. And then all of a sudden, you know what happened? Defensive coordinators went back to their college buddies and say, how do we stop this? What do we do? And does anybody run it anymore? Nobody runs it anymore because it's a gimmick. It's a joke. And that offense is a gimmick. So when you all of a sudden break out, read zone option stuff, and you put your quarterback in harm's way, but nobody knows how to defend it, you can have 8 games where they have a tough time defending you. But you can't go for multiple seasons. Check where Chip Kelly is right now with that offense. You can't do it over the long haul.
When this show's over, I'm going to go look up Cordell Stewart's stats to see how long he lasted. You remember?
Yeah, I do remember
he
Cordell.
Had a nice little run.
He did have a good little run.
It ended. You said something yesterday on Speak for Yourself that I got to follow up on that's in this same topic. You think Cam Newton, what we're talking about may apply to him? He'll never be MVP again. He'll never be that great again.
Right. I just don't think that you can put him in that MVP season. And I've got issues because pretty much for the last decade, I've watched every play of every game in the NFL season, minus a quarter here or a quarter there.
Every team?
Every team. Every play of every game, every week.
Is your wife speaking to you?
Yeah.
During football season.
During football season, not as much. But it's an unhealthy obsession. But here's the deal. When you break him down, and again, this is all eyeball stuff, and I write my notes, and I could show you all my notes, but I don't have it charted play for play. But I have, I've watched it all. I counted on average 8 to 12 designed runs a game for Cam Newton in that MVP season. And I think Mike Shula, their offense coordinator, does a phenomenal job of creating, whether it's a little pitch play, off of read, the triple option type of thing. There's a play action off of that stuff. He does a phenomenal job with some of that stuff. I mean, phenomenal. And they create some very big plays for Cam. But Cam is inconsistent at best out of the pocket. Late with footballs, and he misses wide open targets. He misses targets by 4, 5, 6, 7 yards in those situations. And what you saw last year was a team that realized we have this $100 million commodity in our quarterback that has taken a beating, absolute beating. And I don't care that he's 6'5", 250 or whatever he is, and he's phenomenal. He can't take that kind of beating, and we can't keep him healthy. This is our commodity. So they transitioned out of that to some degree. And what you see? You saw that completion percentage just fall off the map at about 53% last year, which is just not good enough to be effective in this league. He's got a great arm. He's got a really good release. He is just wildly inconsistent at times from the pocket. And me personally, I've never seen a guy jump from a career 55, 50, 55, 57% passer completion guy to a 70% guy. And now the really good ones are 65 to 70 in that area is the really good ones because every rule in the National Football League is bent to throwing the ball.
I just want to frame up for you all what just happened. Mark Schlereth got an emergency phone call, left the gym, and came here and just gave us 13 minutes of football content that raised the bar. That was great stuff.
I appreciate it, buddy.
It reminds me, I think Christine can vouch for this. When I got here, I raised the look of this network. My appearance and how good I look made everyone else step up their game. You just did it for football talk. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. All right, welcome back to the Herd. Jason Whitlock sitting in for Colin Cowherd. This segment's got to be tight. Jamal in California. Welcome to the Herd. Jamal's not there. Isaac in Portland. Welcome to the Herd.
Hey, how you doing, Jason? It's
Great.
just about this Colin Kaepernick thing. If you remember what Ray Lewis said when he was with the Ravens and they were going up against Cap in the Super Bowl, I think it was on this show, he said, we're going to make him beat us as a passer. And he is the defense, with the great defense the Ravens had that season. They knew he wasn't going to beat him as a passer because he's not a true quarterback. That was in his first couple of years coming into the league, and he shocked them. Just kind of like what Chip Kelly did at Oregon. It's a revolutionary thing that they haven't seen before. And if you look at what Cap has done, it's just he's 26th in passer rating. He has a sub 60% completion percentage. My bad. He's a sub 60% passer, and that's just not good enough in the NFL. I hear people tell me he's got a cannon for an arm, and it's just. So does Jay Cutler. Like, guys like that just aren't good enough.
I hope we caught that. Cody in Ventura, welcome to the Herd.
What's going on, Jason? How you doing, man?
Great.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, Colin, Christine, even Nick. You guys open my eyes in sports. I watch sports differently because of you guys.
Appreciate it.
But, yeah, man, I was calling on the McGregor Mayweather fight earlier in terms of, like, all they're doing is showing disrespect to one another for the show, but realistically, they're the two greatest athletes in their sport. Why not show the respect for one another and what they do for their sports?
I think because they don't think there's money to be made doing that. The money is in the disrespect and the animus and the hype and creating headlines.
So now if it's all about money, then why even compete in the sport? It takes away the art of the sport.
Well, again, Cody, and thank you for the phone call. I think it's for the money. This is just a money play, and this is going to be the greatest spectacle in sports. All right, it's time for Christine in the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Rudy Gobert is speaking out now about Gordon Hayward's decision to leave the Jazz and go to the Boston Celtics. He's saying you can't be mad at somebody for wanting to play for another team. It's just the way he handled it. That's the thing I didn't like. To all his teammates, all the guys that he competed with for years, guys that sacrificed for him and for the team, not necessarily tell us, but make sure as a team we can keep going forward if he leaves. So he was upset that Hayward did his article for the Players Tribune before he told the rest of the guys in the team. Here's where I don't agree with it. To make sure that as a team we can keep going forward if he leaves, that's not Gordon Hayward's responsibility.
It's not, but when you see a Utah team that had a great chance to be the 6th or 7th best team in the West, when you see a team that great get destroyed, how can you blame Rudy Gobert from being upset? I mean, they had a chance to be the 6th or 7th seed in the West. They were going to be I'm being sarcastic, Christine.
Okay, good, because I'm like, they could be the 6th or 7th best. Okay, bye. I mean, I think he was probably a good teammate. And also, Rudy Gobert posted a video on Instagram of him singing Loyal by Chris Brown. Like, come on. You know, you guys had a good thing together. You'd probably do the same thing. It is not his responsibility to say, hey, are you guys going to be okay after I leave? I just want to make sure. That's just not the spirit of a fighter and a competitor.
Look, I'm going to defend Rudy Gobert and the Jazz because there have been some complaints about the way Hayward left. You get in a locker room environment and you say all kinds of, oh, you're my dogs for life. We're the guys. Hayward was all in with these guys. They thought they had something. I can remember I'm a big fan of this rapper Tech Nine from Kansas City, a friend of mine. And I know his whole library of music. I didn't know a few of the songs he made with his previous group called the Road Dogg Villains. And these guys hated Tech Nine for a time.
Oh.
And then I went and listened. They said, listen to this song. And they had a song, My Dogs for Life, the RDVs. And I'm like, oh, now I see why you're upset. Because Tech was on this song, rapping My Dogs for Life, blah, blah, blah. And they bought into it. Tech went solo. So it happens. Gordon Hayward went solo. They're upset. They said a bunch of things in the locker room they really didn't mean about you couldn't separate us. We're going to stay here in Utah and pursue a championship. Everybody says it. It ain't true.
This is reminding me of G Unit. Same thing happened to them.
Yeah.
Guys start leaving, breaks the band apart, and they don't know what to do with themselves. So low-priced food will be available now at all games for Falcons fans. We talked about this last time you and I did the show together, that they were going to start having these cheaper hot dogs, which you were not happy about.
No.
You don't want to take down the already low hot dog on the food totem pole and make it even cheaper. I think it's great. You know, you go to a game and the food is so expensive and they know that they've got you trapped because you're in there and you want to eat and you got to pay $15 for popcorn. So they said across the board it's going to be cheap for all the games, including the Super Bowl. So there will also be the vendors, like if you see, like sometimes there's like a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's inside of a stadium, they're going to have the same prices that they do outside of the stadium in the stadium, which I think is
That's good.
fair.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right? You can't just raise the prices just because you know people are forced to eat your food.
Hold on. If I can get Chick-fil-A while sitting in my seat, I need to start going to more games.
At USC games, I don't know if you still can, but there was a Chick-fil-A little booth that you could go to.
Love that.
I do like Chick-fil-A as well. And finally, did you hear about the Hawks? They did this swipe right night. They have really good social media, the Hawks.
Tinder? They did a Tinder night?
Yes. I'm impressed you know that.
Of course. I'm not on Tinder, but I do know how
me
Tinder
either,
works.
But some of my friends are on Tinder, and so sometimes I like to play the swipe game.
Yeah.
But they were doing this at a Hawks game where you could swipe, and these two lovely people met at that night. Their names are Ben McKelsley and Avery Armstrong. So they are still going strong as a couple after meeting at Swipe Right Night. And now...
Can we see that kid's picture? Avery Armstrong? That doesn't look like Avery Armstrong.
Well,
I wouldn't
let's
expect
make sure.
that.
Well, no, that's Ben.
Oh, that's Ben.
Ben McCleskey and Avery Armstrong met at this Tinder night. And so now the Hawks CEO, Steve Koonin, said he is prepared to pay for the wedding for the couple who met there at Swipe Right Night. I say get married right now because weddings are expensive, and that is a great way to get it covered.
I would say both of those guys look like they're younger than 25.
That's a guy and a girl.
Yeah, but both of the guys, I'm just using general. I'd pump the brakes. Save marriage until you're 30. 30 is the ideal age to get married. They look
For a
young
man
to
or
me.
for a woman?
Both.
That is
Both.
That is a different show, Jason.
We can get into it. We'll get into it next week. I think I'm filling in for Colin on
I'm
Monday.
in Paris, so you can talk by yourself.
You're in Paris.
I'll have
All
that
right.
conversation from France.
All right, that's Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
All right, buddy, you got a tough act to follow. Willie Colon, former Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl champion, friend of Big Ben Roethlisberger. You're following Mark Schlereth, who just killed it. Big Willie.
What's up?
Me and Willie hit it off at the house party by the Bay years ago. And so I'm the one person, I don't know if you're happy, but I'm happy you're done with football.
Oh, my knees are happy. I tell you that.
Oh, so there's three of us. You're two knees and me. We're happy you're done with football.
Yeah, it was time, man. I struggled with it this year. I wanted to play the back half of the season, and I was training to hopefully return to my Jets or somewhere else, and I just couldn't get it going. So
you're the guy that wanted to play for the Jets. We've been looking for you.
Yeah,
you're the guy.
I am the guy.
Yeah. Sam Darnold doesn't want to play for the Jets. No one wants to play for the Jets.
They're in rebuilding mode. I hate to say tanking, but I think they're being proactive instead of reactive, and I have no problem with that. Listen, fans want it changed. New York want it changed. They're getting it, so they got to go through the process and then deal with it.
You're dealing with the end of your career. Calvin Johnson is dealing with the end of his career and seems to be taking a lot of pot shots at the Detroit Lions. He remains in the news complaining about the way he's being treated in the aftermath of his career. What's going on here? What's at the heart of this?
It sounds like a guy who probably feels like he's not being valued. When you think about the Detroit Lions, you always think about the Herman Moores or the Barry Sanders. You hear those guys kind of get talked in God mode, and when you talk about Calvin Johnson, a lot of people feel like he quit, like he kind of tapped, and I think only he knows how he felt, and I think he addressed it. So you can't knock a guy for saying he's done, because I'm from the school. I'd rather a guy be all in mentally and physically than just be doing it just because he's getting paid to do it. That's how you get yourself hurt. So at least I commend him saying, "Hey, I'm done. This is where I leave it."
If I own the Detroit Lions or any team and I paid a guy $100 million,
right?
Do I also have to kiss his butt and throw rose petals at his feet when he retires every time I see him? Can't I be like, man, you made $100 million and you got out with your health. We didn't win Super Bowls or anything, but
well, it should be on you to find out what type of mental mind state he's in. Is he a guy that's invested for the future if you're going to give him that much money? So that they need to do a better job.
No. I'm talking about all these complaints now that he's retired.
Okay.
He feels like he's not being treated with the respect or whatever.
Well, I don't know what respect he's looking for. I mean, he did his job. They paid him. Good riddance. I mean, at the end of the day, he was an amazing receiver. He just didn't win in Detroit. If he feel like winning was – we talk about Barkley all the time, right? What Barkley say? He goes, listen, if I would have known championships would have really, fulfilled my legacy, I would have left a long time ago and maybe joined the super team. If he felt like ultimately him winning a Super Bowl is going to, uplift his legacy, he should have went somewhere where he could have got it done. He didn't. He didn't make that power move. He was being loyal, and he got paid for it. That's the name of the game.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. I don't think they prepped you for this. But anyway, A.J. Hawk had a piece in the Players Tribune talking about how hard it is to retire. Again, you're going through the end of your career. A.J. Hawk basically said that his wife threw a surprise retirement party for him.
Did it go well?
Yeah, it went very well. Okay. I mean, he had a lot of his former.
I had one myself, so I get it.
Okay, but his wife threw it. It was a surprise.
My wife threw it.
Okay, good. Yeah. And it was like a way of telling you, you're done. I'm tapping out for you. And so I say Gisele Bundchen is going to tap out for Tom Brady.
What?
And that's what she's doing. Yes.
You think she's going to just throw a surprise party and say, hey, you're retired, Tom?
No.
I hope she talks to the Robert Kraft and Belichick before she throws that type of party.
I'm not suggesting she's throwing a surprise party. I'm saying she is doing things publicly and privately pushing Tom towards retirement.
What do you think she's doing privately, though, Jason?
Oh, privately, she's telling him flat out.
Like, listen, I think you're done. You need to wrap it up after he just won a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think
that's a hard conversation to convince your husband to wrap it up if you just won. And the team they got coming back next year.
She's got more money than Tom, and she's got all the Giselle.
Nothing. That means nothing. In their relationship, at some point, money's money, bro. It is what it is.
She's got more money than Tom. She's got his kids, and not that I'm sure he's involved with his kids. I think she has more power in that relationship than what people would traditionally think, and I think she's using that power to push this dude to retirement because, like, you won 5 Super Bowls. This year they gift wrapped you a team that you should win your 6th.
Correct.
Enough is enough. Come home healthy and able to be with me and these kids for the next 25, 30 years.
I understand where you go with it. It was tough for me. It was right around Thanksgiving when I couldn't get out to bed. And my wife had watched me train all year round. I went to Germany, got the shots. I did everything I needed to do to try to
you got the Kobe shots.
I got everything. And it just wasn't working. And I got out to bed Thanksgiving. She looked at me. She was just like, what are we doing? Because at that point, you're right. Your wife does have it. Because the fighter in me, the competitor in me, would never quit. If anybody knows to watch me play and quit, I spent the last 2 years on one leg grinding it out. But that's me. That's my own personal story. So that's the hardest obstacle to overcome, to get out your way.
A lot of guys made the Pro Bowl off you that year.
Well, right. And I support that. Right. And at the end of the day.
That was a joke, Willie.
I know it was, but it was a bad joke. It was another thing for me to kind of walk around and say, you know, it took her to kind of talk to me, like you said, for me to kind of look at my own mortality, because I was putting myself at risk. So but it's a hard conversation to have. I don't think Tom's having that conversation.
Christine, since you jump right in the middle of this, how are you telling me that Giselle doesn't have the power and the smarts and the intellect to execute a strategy? I'm not talking about throwing a party. I think she's executing a strategy to put pressure on Tom to retire. I think it's appropriate. I think women do it all the time, and spouses do it all the time. When they want things done, they know how to manipulate things to get that.
Listen to the words that you're using, the power and the manipulation.
Yeah.
You're making it sound like Giselle's got this ulterior motive that's not in the best interest of her husband. What I'm saying is she probably does have the best interest of her husband in mind. Why wouldn't she?
I'm going to say
You're
this.
nodding yes. Thank you.
I'm going to say this, and it might.
I mean, that's what wives do. It's all about the family.
Yes, and that's what it should be.
It's not. There's no motive behind it.
I may get in trouble for saying this, but your man's just left, and I wish he was still here. Because I guarantee you that he would sit here and say, you know how to execute your power and leverage and to manipulate him. And I don't mean that negatively. Because people manipulate each other positively and negatively.
What is she going to get from telling Tom to hang it up? When you want your husband to be happy, aren't you worried about his legacy? If he's still, listen, he's in the best shape of his life. He takes care of himself. He's not reckless. He does a great job around the field. Why would you want him to sit there and be like, all right?
Because you want him healthy.
He's healthy now.
Did you not hear her talk about the concussions and the things he's been dealing with behind the scenes?
You know how many ball players go through that? At some point, it's on Tom. If Tom's fine and he's telling his wife, like, listen, I got this, baby. I'm doing whatever I need to do to be successful on the field, and I'm okay. You got to let him live. That's on him.
Don't run from this. And you either. Because you
running.
manipulate and leverage your wife, and you manipulate and leverage the person you're in a relationship with. This is what people do. We don't have to say it's negative.
When you say those words, you make it seem like there's what's the end game for that?
Right.
Like that's
getting what you want. That's
but what does she want? She doesn't need anything. What does she need?
Manipulation just has a bad connotation. Like the word is negative.
Right.
And I see what you're saying. Like you try to figure things out to get what you want, but it's not a bad manipulation.
What is she going to get?
That's what my point is.
What is going to happen once Tom retires? He's going to be unhappy because he's going to feel forced. You want Tom to leave on his own account?
I just love the naivety of this whole conversation. I'm the only person over here keeping it real.
You're the only person
You're married.
Real.
You're married.
I am married.
And you're here pretending like every day's about being happy. Marriage ain't about every day being happy. You make a lot of decisions that don't make you happy to preserve that marriage.
No, I'm happy because we got mutual respect and we love each other and we're a God-fearing couple. That's what makes us happy. Me pretending to be happy has nothing to do with football or the powers to be. It's called communication. That's how we communicate.
Yes.
So let's keep it 100 on that.
Is everything.
Let me tell you something.
I love what you just said.
Look,
I love it.
You're not married.
You're speechless.
You're not married.
No, because Jason plays this evil villain role, and when the cameras come off, he be like, "Good job, Willie, my dog." And I'm like, "Nah, homie, we here on Fox. Keep it 100. You painting this evil picture in front of everybody. We're not doing it, Jason. We're not doing it.
I'm trying to keep it real.
You're trying to stir trouble with Tom and his wife." The man's a Super Bowl winner. She's the most beautiful girl in the world. They got beautiful kids. They're multimillionaires. There's no trouble in paradise. So don't make up one.
Look, I'm 50 years old.
Amen to you.
I'm trying to keep it real for young people like
Christine. You're not
Christine.
keeping it real by saying
no.
You're not. That's
so
not
that when
it real,
they go,
Jason.
and for yourself, a young person like yourself, when they go into these relationships, they have reasonable expectations. You said, "I don't make any decisions that make me unhappy to preserve the marriage."
It's called sacrifice. It's called teamwork.
And Tom Brady is going to step away from football to make his wife happy. He won't be happy about it, but she's done with football. This is it.
There's a lot of wives who are done with their husbands playing football. But ultimately, if him being on the field makes them happy and he's safe and the money's right and things are okay, they're going to make that sacrifice to make sure their husband is happy. That's called a relationship. There's some things you don't like in a relationship, but you're willing to stick through it because that's what makes it work.
You don't think those women and those wives are making a lot of sacrifices for their husband playing football?
certainly think they are.
Thank you.
Like every day, I've talked to a lot of those wives. It is not easy to have your husband playing football.
And that's why they put their foot down. No, I'm happy is what I am.
You ain't happy. You spending money at happy places. There's a difference, homie. You ain't happy. You go to places that make you happy.
What's the difference, Willie?
No, there's a difference. I'm happy on the couch next to my family and my wife. Don't sit out here.
I done broke out in a sweat.
Oh, man.
I broke out in a sweat. Look, don't
you
go
just
and don't.
kept it the most real I think it's ever been on
And
the
you
show.
have to, because I know him. And he's...
We gotta go to break. We're coming back though, because I'm not done with this conversation.
I'm here.
I know there's some people out there listening that know I'm right.
You're not right.
877-757-4373. 877-757-4373. These two are being fake and pretending like every day they're happy as hell. I'm Jason Whitlock. You're in the Herd. All right, welcome back to the Herd. Final segment of the show. Willie Colon back with us. We got to be tight here. Listen, here's what I say.
Say it.
Never take relationship advice from people in relationships. They lie.
That makes no sense.
You're cute. You're cute.
Why would you take...
It's cute because it sounds stupid.
No, they're not
the
in...
stupidest thing I've
They're
ever heard.
not in position to be honest.
Who would you take relationship advice from?
People that are in position to be honest.
No, people who aren't in relationships don't know how to give advice about relationships because they're not in one.
What category are those people?
The people not in a relationship. No, not in a relationship. Some people aren't in a relationship and they can be honest about relationships.
There's something to learn from couples that are married a long time. They're going to talk to you about the grind. They're going to talk to you about the sacrifices. And real couples are going to tell you that it's not good. It's not easy. It's a struggle, but you find a way to make it work. Or there's some couples like, man, some couples will tell you we're making it work for the kids. Some couples we found we had to make it work. It's not easy. Every couple's different. But I'd rather hear from somebody that's been through 10 or 12 years than talk to the guy that's never committed to anything.
Finally got you to a real place.
Please.
Finally.
I've been at a real place.
You to a real place.
No. You refuse to acknowledge that there's value in being in a relationship.
I do think there's value in it.
You're single.
There's value
you
in
just said
it.
earlier today, no one should get married till they're 30.
Right.
Until they're old enough to handle it and they go in with their eyes wide open.
That could be different ages.
I agree with you on that. Totally agree with you.
Life experiences make you wise up very fast.
Maybe you should have a Fox speed dating show for you to see how it turns out.
No.
Can we do that?
We need a relationship show where I can give advice to people,
advice. How can you give advice to?
Because I've lived long enough and I know.
Would you talk to a ball player that's never played basketball?
I've been in relationships. Now you don't want
to get in your business. That's what it is.
No.
You don't want anybody to talk about your business. You get in everybody else's business. Well, we can't talk about Whitlock business.
100%. But listen,
I see how that works.
Unlike you and Christine, the things that come out of my mouth, I'm not worried about what someone at home thinks about what I'm about to say.
Well, that's because of the platform. This is your profession. You can't. Part of being in this business, you're going to cut onions. There's not going to be some people that's going to like you, some people that's going to hate you. It is what it is. But it has nothing to do with relationship. What does that have to do?
Everything that comes out of your mouth, Willie, you have to. What's my wife going to think about?
What?
This?
You're blaming it on that?
Because you represent your family. You do represent your couple.
Yes.
If there is backlash, what comes out of her mouth, she's walking to the grocery store, she sees the neighbor, she has to be in conflict.
But then you're saying you value your job over your relationship.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Because everything I say, I'm always considerate of my
not
relationship.
Even for your spouse, but for your family.
Because you can get fired at any time or leave your job, but hopefully your relationship's there forever.
And that's why, as it relates to Tom Brady and Giselle, I'm in a position to be more honest about the manipulation that Giselle is using to force Tom Brady into retirement. It's like, y'all, because you're in a relationship, you're offended by the word manipulation. It's not an offensive word.
If your wife knows you and your spouse knows
you,
she understands where you're coming from, and she's going to have your back.
Yep.
100%.
Whoa.
More than anyone else.
Christine, why are you listening to this?
Why aren't you listening to me? That's the question.
Listen to what he just said. It's as if your husband shouldn't be concerned about what makes you happy and your issues.
No, I said nothing like that. Said nothing like that. Nowhere close. If you said something on air and you had a wife, if your wife knows you, the real person, she's going to back what you say because she know your true intentions. That's what a great spouse does.
I'm going back
Both
to
ways.
Tom Brady.
Both ways, exactly.
If you've listened, when y'all replay this conversation,
let's start
y'all are acting like only Tom Brady's happiness matters.
No,
Giselle's happiness matters. She's got leverage. She's smart. She wants the man out of football. That would make her happy. That's just as important as Tom's happiness, continuing to play football for an 18th, 19th, 20th year when he's already got 5 Super Bowls.
It's called compromise. If she's happy and he's happy, she's going to get in the relationship.
And maybe
how do you know she's not happy? Because she made one comment? She didn't say Tom was unhappy. She just, hey, I know my husband has had a concussion. She said nothing about him not being happy or wanting to retire.
She's made comments about the guy needing to retire.
Maybe they've had conversations at home, and Tom can't go out there and say, hey, I don't want to play anymore. But maybe they've had conversations where he's like, I kind of agree. I don't want to play that much longer.
No, he's on record. He wants to play 5 more years.
Of course he's on record saying that.
Everything's built around Tom Brady. Why would he say anything?
Let me just say this. We'll end on this note.
Please.
Giselle, I got your back.
These I have her back more than anyone.
Now he's a Giselle fan.
They don't care about
Let's
Giselle.
Get tank tops and T-shirts of Giselle.
They don't care.
That's the opposite of what we're saying.
Y'all don't care about the woman's perspective.
What?
I do.
Oh, so you can speak for a woman now?
I do.
Oh, my goodness.
I do. All right. Thank you. Cowherd will be back tomorrow.